Through visual displays of commodity and characteristic color schemes, HBO show Sex and the City presents material consumption and feminine sexuality as constitutive elements of whiteness, culturally reproducing the dominance of imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist heteropatriarchy in the late 1990s and early 2000s. The first season of Sex and the City, which is about 4 white, unmarried women living in Manhattan, was released in 1998, 4 years after the enactment of the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA. NAFTA allowed American multinational corporations to move their operations to Mexico, and as a result, the maquiladora system greatly expanded. Maquiladoras are factories in Mexico close to the U.S. border, which functionally get corporate tax breaks, greatly benefiting the executives. These are strongholds of modern imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy, where workers get paid approximately 1/6 of the U.S. hourly rate, and female workers face regular gender-based harassment and sexual assault, as well as violations of bodily autonomy through rules policing pregnancy. Following NAFTA's enactment, factory employment rose 86% per year for 5 years, and nearly 1,500 factories were built in those years. Western fashion companies could produce at higher rates for a lower cost, so there was a huge profit incentive to raise production. Fast fashion and online shopping became commonplace, and people began wearing name brands. Sex and the City directly tied fashion and hyperconsumerism to femininity, marriage, and liberation, making this phenomenon desirable. When Carrie, the main character, leaves a depressingly lowbrow hookup, evidenced by waking up with a batik pattern sheet behind her, she raises her spirits with a new pair of Manolo Blahniks, an Italian designer shoe brand, and she runs into her long-term love interest and future husband, a wealthy business tycoon named Mr. Big. Carrie bought into consumerism and she got her desired outcome, a wealthy future husband. Similarly, in Season 3, Episode 1, when Samantha got cheated on, she went shopping and then felt empowered to throw a drink on her ex. As Carrie said, breakups are bad for the heart, but good for the economy. No matter what a woman's relationship status was, she was partaking in capitalism. That was the solution. The show attempts to reframe consumption as liberatory. Women can buy what they want with their own money when they want to. They argue that female liberation will come from individual choice. In ignoring the material realities created by interlocking systems of domination, girl boss capitalism only strengthens upper-class, heterosexual white women's ability to dominate. When examining the post-NAFTA conditions in Mexico as a microcosmic example of Western imperialism in the 21st century, that becomes clear. Carrie's designer habits served her well in the show, eventually leading her to a white wedding and a New York City penthouse, her aspiration throughout. However, this relied on the expendability and exploitation of workers in the global South, recalling a long history of extraction, colonialism, and imperialism for Western material gain. Sex and the City played a critical role in popular culture to reinforce the hegemonic narratives that justified restructuring global capitalism to encourage quick commerce, hyperconsumerism, and name-brand consumption. Given the show's popular cultural relevance, this Western material gain was the norm, and what Carrie Bradshaw wore became desirable. From Chanel to Manolos to Dolce & Gabbana, advertising shifted from the TV screen or the billboard to the body. Companies commodified the self and put the logo on clothing. This advertising scheme relied entirely on Carrie's desirability and her beauty as a white woman. Whiteness, beauty, and morality have been mutually constructed in the realm of the aesthetic since the Italian Renaissance in the 15th century, when artists like Michelangelo and Botticelli demonstrated this in some of their best-known works, including David and The Birth of Venus, respectively. David, made between 1501 and 1504, demonstrates the tendency at the time to recreate Greco-Roman statues absent of any color so as to justify white supremacy, pinpointing whiteness as the pinnacle of beauty. The Birth of Venus, painted in the mid-1480s, signifies an idealized secular white feminine sexuality. Though she is nude, the Venus still displays modesty and subservience as she covers her genitals and averts her gaze. Whiteness indicates purity and virginity as well as marriage. Marriage is a moral signifier which demonstrates one's participation in imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy. Every aspect of the wedding ceremony, from the white dress, white as purity, to the father giving away the bride as if she is property, to the manner in which marriage is used to police sexuality, upholds interlocking systems of domination, and further institutionalizes white heterosexuality. In hegemonic cultural narratives and practice, however, marriage signifies success and validates love. This is the case in Sex and the City, as visual cues using color place the characters in relative distances from white supremacist signifiers of propriety and proximity to marriage. The show centers the unmarried status of 4 women in their 30s. That's the first thing the audience learns about them. By uniting all 3 of her best friends with the foregrounded label unmarried woman within 10 minutes of the show's premiere, Carrie indicates that all 4 women, them and her, wish to be married, and she defines them by their lack of a husband. Charlotte is typically styled in all white to indicate her moral goodness. As such, she is the closest to the desired outcome of a wedding. She's chaste, and she gets married first out of the 4 friends. Samantha, who is presented as her foil, wears colorful, vibrant clothing and is incredibly sexually promiscuous. She resents the idea of marriage. Even their bedrooms show this. While Charlotte's room is white and has white sheets, Samantha's is red and black, signifying passion and sex. In the end, Samantha also aspires to have a white wedding, though, and this show's cultural relevance strengthened the spectacle and institution of white heterosexuality through its legitimizing of the wedding industrial complex. Every single white woman wanted a wedding. Ultimately, Sex and the City demonstrates reliances on material goods and heteropatriarchy as signifiers of whiteness to form identities and to uphold imperialist capitalist systems of domination throughout the 2000s.